A Jealous Friend. Chapter 1. Two Friends, One Bond. In the heart of Dharampur, a town nestled between low hills and mango orchards, two girls grew up side by side, Anjali and Ritika. They were born in the same hospital, shared the same birthday month, and studied in the same class from nursery to high school. Their friendship was legendary. People often said, "Where you find Anjali, you will find Ritika." As children, they walked to school hand in hand, played in the fields behind their houses, and whispered secrets under the big neem tree near the temple. Anjali's family was modest. Her father worked as a tailor, and her mother washed clothes for wealthier families. Yet, Anjali never complained. She wore second-hand clothes, but kept them clean. She studied hard and always stood among the top students. Ritika, on the other hand, lived in a spacious two-story house. Her father owned a hardware store, and her mother was a homemaker who dressed Ritika in the prettiest frocks and packed lunchboxes full of parathas, sweets, and juice boxes. But despite the differences in their lives, Ritika and Anjali never noticed it much. They shared stories, food, and dreams. "I'll be a doctor one day," Anjali would say, "and I'll open a clinic with you," Ritika would add with a grin. Their friendship was full of laughter, late-night study sessions, and birthday cards made by hand. They never imagined anything could come between them. Chapter 2. A Seed of Jealousy. Everything changed in Class 10. It was the year everyone called the most important year of your life. Teachers shouted, parents stressed, and students lost sleep preparing for the board exams. Anjali, as always, worked hard. She studied late into the night, waking up before sunrise to revise. Her family couldn't afford private tuition, so she borrowed old guidebooks from seniors and practiced alone. Ritika, too, studied, but not with the same intensity. She had a private tutor, fancy books, and a study table with a small fan and snacks beside it. But she often got distracted by her phone, new TV shows, or chatting with friends. When the results came out in May, a crowd gathered around the school notice board. Anjali Sharma, first rank, 94.8%. Her name shone at the top of the list. Ritika's name was further down, 85.5%. Respectable, but not enough to grab attention. Everyone praised Anjali. "She's a star," said the math teacher. "She should get a scholarship," added the principal. "Such a bright girl from such a humble background," the librarian whispered. Even Ritika's mother sighed and said, "See how hard work pays off. You should learn from Anjali." Those words hit Ritika like a stone. That evening, Ritika lay in bed, not replying to Anjali's cheerful messages. A strange feeling had crept into her heart. It wasn't just disappointment. It was jealousy. She tried to brush it off. "It's okay," she told herself. "Anjali deserves it." But the feeling didn't go away. When Anjali came home with her certificate to show her, Ritika smiled and said, "Wow, great job." But her voice was cold. Her eyes didn't sparkle. That night, she lay awake thinking, why her? Why not me? Chapter 3. The First Crack. A few weeks later, the school announced a debate competition. The topic: hard work versus intelligence. Both Ritika and Anjali loved public speaking. It was their favorite activity in school. They both signed up. Their names were on the final list. Ritika was determined. "This time I will win," she told herself. She spent hours preparing her speech, practicing her expressions, and even rehearsing in front of a mirror. On the day of the competition, the hall was full of students, teachers, and parents. Ritika wore a smart blazer. Her speech was good, confident, and clear. The audience clapped. Then came Anjali. She wore a simple salwar kameez and spoke with calm confidence. Her words were emotional, full of examples from her own life. How she had no electricity at night, how she studied by candlelight, how she believed hard work could beat all odds. By the time she finished, the hall was silent. then erupted in loud applause. She won first place again. Ritika's face turned red with anger. The second place ribbon in her hand felt heavy and meaningless. Later, when Anjali hugged her and said, "You were so good, I thought you would win," Ritika pulled away and muttered, "You think you're better than everyone now, don't you?" Anjali looked stunned. "What are you saying?" "You always need the spotlight," Ritika said and walked away. That was the moment something inside their friendship cracked, and the pieces didn't fit the same way again. Chapter 4: Rumors and Lies. The distance between Ritika and Anjali grew silently, like cracks in a wall that no one noticed at first. Anjali, unsure of what went wrong, kept trying to fix things. "Ritika, are you free today? Want to study together?" "Sorry, I have plans," Ritika replied flatly. At school, Ritika now sat with another group, Rima, Tanya, and Megha. They weren't close friends, but Ritika found comfort there. They didn't talk about grades or debates. They gossiped, laughed at silly things, and most importantly, never praised Anjali. One day, during a science project, a boy named Arav was assigned as Anjali's partner. He was polite and soft-spoken, the kind of boy who never made fun of anyone. Anjali and Arav worked well together. They shared notes, stayed after school to complete charts, and even laughed over silly mistakes. Ritika watched them from afar. Why is he always talking to her? Why does everyone like her? The next morning, Ritika leaned over to Tanya and said, "Looks like Anjali is getting close to Arav. Who knows what's going on between them?" The words were meant as a joke, but they spread like wildfire. Soon, students were whispering behind Anjali's back. Some boys made jokes. Girls exchanged glances. Anjali noticed the change. People she once called friends stopped talking to her. Even Arav seemed uncomfortable, pulling away when they worked on their final project. Anjali didn't understand why. Then, during a break, she walked past Ritika's group and heard Tanya say, "I bet Anjali's acting innocent again." Anjali froze. She stared at Ritika. Ritika avoided her gaze. That night, Anjali cried herself to sleep. Not because of Arav, but because the person who once defended her was now breaking her apart. Chapter 5: Confrontation. It took Anjali 3 days to gather the courage. On a hot afternoon, she waited outside the school gates. As students left, she saw Ritika walking with her friends. "Ritika," Anjali called. Ritika turned slowly. "What? We need to talk. Please." Reluctantly, Ritika told her friends to go ahead. They stepped aside under a gulmohar tree, the red flowers dropping around them like silent witnesses. "Why are you doing this?" Anjali's voice trembled. "Why are you turning everyone against me?" "I'm not doing anything," Ritika replied coldly. "You started that rumor about Arav, didn't you?" Ritika didn't answer. "Why?" Anjali pressed. "You were my best friend. I never hurt you. Why are you punishing me?" "You think you're better than everyone," Ritika snapped. "You win everything. Everyone talks about you. I'm tired of being second to you. You don't even see it, do you?" Anjali stood still, stunned. "All I ever wanted was to make my family proud," she whispered. "I never tried to compete with you." Ritika crossed her arms. "Well, you did, whether you meant to or not." Anjali's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. "You know what hurts more than losing friends? It's realizing someone you love became someone you don't even recognize." She turned and walked away, and for the first time, Ritika didn't feel powerful. She felt empty. Chapter 6: Rising Above. Days turned into weeks. The final exams approached, and students buried themselves in books. Anjali, though heartbroken, focused on studying. She stayed late in the library, read borrowed books, and prepared for college entrance exams. She joined the science club's final presentation project and was nominated as the team leader. Under her guidance, the team created a model of a water-saving irrigation system. It was selected for the state science fair. She didn't tell anyone, not even Arav. She had learned to walk alone. Ritika, meanwhile, felt the consequences of her actions. Her studies began to suffer. Her group of friends, once eager to gossip, got bored and moved on. Even Tanya stopped sitting with her. One evening, Ritika overheard two girls talking outside class. "Ritika used to be so cool. What happened to her? I think she's just jealous of Anjali." Jealous. That word hit Ritika like a slap. She went home and opened an old photo album. There it was, a picture of her and Anjali, both 10 years old, laughing in front of the school garden. She touched the photo. "I ruined everything." Chapter 7. Realization and Regret. The day of the state science fair arrived. Anjali stood proudly beside her team and their irrigation model. A panel of judges from major colleges visited each project. When they reached Anjali's stall, she explained her model confidently, her eyes glowing with passion. She didn't expect to win, but that evening, when the results were announced, she stood frozen. First prize, Darnpur Senior School, Team Anjali Sharma. The crowd clapped. Teachers from her school hugged her. Even students who had stopped talking to her came over to congratulate her. But the one person she longed to see wasn't there. Ritika had stayed home. At her desk, Ritika stared at her phone. A message from Tanya read, "Anjali won the state competition. Everyone's talking about it." Ritika sat in silence. The jealousy that once burned in her heart now melted into shame. She opened the drawer of her study table and pulled out an old birthday card from Anjali. Inside, it read, "To my sister in every way that counts. May we grow together, always." Tears blurred Ritika's vision. What have I done? Chapter 8. Forgiveness. That night, Ritika typed a message over and over again. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I ruined everything." She deleted it, typed again, and finally sent, "I miss you. I'm so sorry, Anjali. Please talk to me." Anjali saw the message late at night. Her hands trembled. She didn't reply. The next morning at school, Ritika stood nervously near the front gate, holding her phone, her heart pounding. When Anjali arrived, their eyes met. Ritika stepped forward. "Anjali, please, just hear me once." Anjali didn't speak. "I was jealous," Ritika said, her voice breaking. "I said things I shouldn't have. I ruined your name, your friendships, and I broke us. I know sorry isn't enough, but it's all I can say." A long pause. Then Anjali spoke, softly. "Do you know what hurt the most?" Ritika shook her head. "That you stopped being my friend. Not because I did something wrong, but because I did something right." Ritika looked down, ashamed. But Anjali continued, "I've missed you too." Ritika's eyes widened. "I don't forget what we had, Ritika. Maybe we can't go back to the old days," Anjali added. "But maybe we can grow into something new." Ritika felt a lump in her throat. "Do you forgive me?" Anjali nodded. "Only if you promise one thing. Anything. Never let jealousy steal someone from you again." "I promise." They hugged, this time with tears. Chapter 9. Together again. Things didn't magically return to how they once were. But slowly, piece by piece, the trust between Ritika and Anjali began to rebuild. They started sitting together again in class. They worked on small projects, helped each other with studies, and laughed, less often, but more honestly. Ritika began focusing on her studies. She realized how much she had wasted trying to outshine someone instead of improving herself. When college admissions opened, both Anjali and Ritika applied for scholarships. Anjali got into a prestigious government college for science. Ritika, who had worked hard that year, earned a place in a business college in a nearby city. On their last day of school, they sat under the old neem tree, their childhood place. "Promise me," Ritika said, "we won't let distance make us strangers again." "Promise," Anjali smiled. They took a selfie. Two young women who had fallen, grown, and found their way back. Chapter 10. Lessons for Life. Years passed. Ritika became a successful entrepreneur. She started her own marketing firm and wrote blogs about self-growth and emotional awareness. Her first book, The Mirror Within, was a hit. In the dedication, she wrote, "To the friend who once made me jealous, and then taught me the meaning of true strength, true forgiveness, and true friendship." Anjali became a scientist, working in environmental research. She often returned to Dharampur to give talks in schools, encouraging girls to dream, to work hard, and to believe in themselves. One day, they met again at their school's 10-year reunion. Older, wiser, stronger. As they walked past the old classrooms, Ritika smiled and said, "You know, you never stopped being my best friend. I just lost sight of what friendship meant." Anjali placed a hand on her shoulder. "And I never stopped believing in you. I just waited for you to believe in yourself." And with that, they walked together, side by side, as they were always meant to.